Leveling and refining has always been the bread and butter of any role-playing games. And Genshin Impact, being one of the best RPG released this past year, is no stranger to this. It has a lot of leveling system implemented on character, talents, weapons, and the artifact, which, in my opinion, is the most ridiculously stupid among them. Here's why. Farming any material or artifact in Genshin Impact requires you to use your limited resin, which is 160 at max per day. Because of this, the amount of time to fully kit out at least a single character or equipment is artificially inflated. If you have been playing Genshin Impact for a decent amount of time, you should be already aware or quite informed on how to manage your scarce resins on what to prioritize farming. Or if not, and you're a new player, I will discuss it in this video to at least give you a recommendation on what I think is the logical order in which you should focus your resources and time. And that order is character levels, weapons, talents, and then finally artifact. On the topmost priority is the character levels for two reasons. One, for the passive talents. Imagine Zhongli without his Dominance of Earth passive, or Hu Tao without her Sanguine Rogue passive, both of which are huge damage bonuses that can only be unlocked at their 4th Ascension phase or level 70. Unlocking all the passive skill is what usually ascends a character to the higher level or even sometimes outright game breaking, and this is notably true to any 5-star characters. 2. For their base attributes. Leveling up and ascending a character increases their base attributes, on which almost every outgoing damage, from both the normal attacks and skills, bonus attributes from either the weapons or artifacts, and other stats like shield strength or healing is dependent on. This is very important, especially to the bonus stats on any equipment that is percentage based, because the bonus you get is derived from the base attributes only. Further clarify, if you have 100 base attack 6-star Paimon equipped with an artifact having a plus 100 attack and plus 10% attack, the total attack of Paimon is 210. It is frequently misunderstood that it is supposed to be 220, which is not the case, because the plus 100 attack is a flat bonus and does not stack to the base attributes. Therefore, it is not included to the computation of the plus 10% attack bonus. The only exception to this is the base attack attribute bonus from the weapon, which is, for that reason, it is number 2 on the priority list. Currently, the weapon is the only type of equipment that increases a base attribute, which is the base attack. If we use the example before, equipping Paimon with the 100 base attack Chicken Skewer along with the previous artifact will give Paimon a total of 320 attack. Also, any secondary stat bonus the weapon has, which is usually percentage base, works identically to the flat attribute bonus of artifact. The third most priority is the talents, which are the skills and normal attacks. It defines what the character is and determines the contribution to the team, whether to support or deal damage. The talents are on lower priority than the first two, mainly because its damage output and other stats is very dependent on the base attributes, which are increased only by the weapon and leveling. Not to mention, farming the boss item material from the Trounce domain, which is needed for the talents level 7 and above, is scarce at lower world levels. However, its drop rate will be decent when the world level has reached level 5 and beyond. The biggest advantage of the first three is that farming the materials needed, either from the bosses or the challenge domains, is consistent. That means, every time you beat the boss or domain, it is guaranteed that you will get at minimum the lowest tier of agates, talent books, weapon ascension material, and a single piece of character ascension material, with the only exemption of the talent ascension material at lower world levels, as I said before. Meanwhile, in comparison to the artifacts that have multiple level of RNG, therefore, I call it absurd and should be the least priority of all. Allow me to elaborate. At number 1, farming artifacts is unreliable. If you are specifically farming for a 5-star headpiece of the Crimson Witch of Flame set, getting any different piece or lower rarity is pointless, and the resin that was used is also wasted. It may be possible to use the spare artifact as an extra piece, granted that the stat is decent, but apart from that, its only use is to provide extra morale when it's grinded, or experience upgrading artifacts.
If only there is a way to use low rarity item to get a higher rarity item.
You mean just like the books and the weapon materials? Yes. This is the reason why I call the artifacts absurd. In the case of the books and weapon materials, even in the worst case where you would get a single piece of the lowest rarity material every time you beat the domain, it is still possible to speculate how long it would take to level up a talent or weapon to a certain level. The game already has a solid system, so it is not impossible to implement a system on the artifacts where we combine the low rarity artifact to get the higher rarity one. Not to mention, granted that you got the 5-star piece that you need, you see the 5-star headpiece of the Crimson Witch of Flames on your screen, you would still deal with at number 2, the RNG of the stats. Nothing is more disheartening than finding out your effort is all wasted when you open your bag to check it only to find out that either the main stat or the substat is garbage. I've been there, you've been there, or if not, believe me, you will get there. I don't have exact numbers on the drop rates, and there's no officially published numbers by MiHoYo of the RNG drop rates or how the probability is designed. So most of the Reddit threads or stats from the wikis available are the result of their respective data collected. One such example is the Reddit thread of Pie Hunter Men, which are for the artifact drop rates and the chances of their main stat. I will leave a link to the actual Reddit post below, and another link to my YouTube channel where I post my gaming content so you can subscribe and stay updated. At number 3, more RNG on the substat when leveling the artifact. This is very common when you get a 5-star piece with the 3 substat. Leveling it to level 4 will unlock its 4th substat, which you are hoping will be a good one, because if not, it's back to farming. My statements about artifacts might come off as a bit salty, but don't get me wrong, artifacts are great. However, based from my experience and research, I concluded that the artifact should not be farmed. Yet, only when the first 3 priorities are on decent level, or when the domain for the 5-star artifacts is unlocked, is I would say the time you should start farming the artifacts. If you can't get the 5-star piece you want and you really need the artifact for the 2-piece skill, a maxed out 4-star artifact is more than enough. Because when you finally get the 5-star artifact, you can use the previous 4-star artifact as an experience material. By doing this method, 80% of the total accumulated experience of the 4-star artifact will be transferred to the 5-star artifact, which will save you a lot of time and resources leveling up your new artifact. Also, keep in mind that you can still get great artifacts from the bosses, which are the Gladiators and Wanderer set that you might already have while you are farming for the materials needed for your characters. RNG is part of any game, and Genshin Impact is not excluded to this. I played tons of RPG games that includes RNG ever since the early days of MMO, Ragnarok being one of them as the classic MMO in my country. I would even say that even RNG makes farming endgame items exciting, if it is implemented in reasonable amount. In case of Genshin Impact, however, the artifacts currently being part of its endgame content is nothing short of unrewarding. Dealing with multiple stacks of RNG is unhealthy to the gaming experience that when you get the artifact with the perfect stats, instead of feeling rewarded, you would feel relief that finally your suffering has ended. Congratulations! You just have to repeat the farming one more time because you need 2 pieces of the set to activate its 2-piece skill.